Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to align myself with a lot of what Representative Craig just highlighted here. Look, I'm from a state from Iowa. We know the CFTC. We know corn, pork bellies are commodities, and we know that my bankers in Main Street, Des Moines have stocks and bonds, and those are securities. It's a pretty straightforward gig. But serving on both ag and financial services, we recognize that when we enter the digital asset space, it's a lot more confusing, not only for the innovator, but certainly for the end user. As we look forward in this, I guess I am challenged by the regulatory uncertainty that seems to have occupied this space. We'll take Ethereum, for example. Look, first, Mr. Chairman, it was treated in 2018 as a security, and the SEC official said that it was not. And certainly as securities changed, and the CFTC then agreed. But then we went to the Biden administration. And under the Biden administration, the SEC labeled it as a security, and the CFTC called it a commodity. Now we've got a conflict. Going forward, I've asked both the former chair of the SEC and the CFTC, right here in this room, Chairman will recall, to help provide some clarity for this issue. And guess what? We walked away more confused than where we began. That is not good for American investment. That's not great for American innovation. And most importantly, this allows our competitors in this space to be highly successful when they have some framework, and the United States is looking at over-regulating something that it clearly can't even figure out on its own. So with that, Mr. Hughes, you've worked not only in the digital asset space, you're a software guy. Do you think, candidly, this type of whiplash is hurting American innovators?
It absolutely is. Our products are used by software developers, and over the last several years, really the work has migrated overseas. I think you're starting to see that change now, but when we're talking about a chilling element, we're not only talking about apps like MetaMask and other apps, we're talking about the chains themselves. Being an open source software, computer networking dev one day, going about building a new world computer, and then all of a sudden you're served with an SEC subpoena out of the blue, that doesn't make for a conducive working environment trying to evolve the next era of innovation. These people want to work in the United States. Right. They want to work with U.S. companies. They want to found U.S. companies. This is where the talent is. This is where the capital is. If we just get a coherent regulatory structure that people can actually comply with, rather than it being impossible to comply with, we're going to see a lot of doors open, and that's going to be a very good thing for this industry, but the country as well.
So I can think of no better way to spend an afternoon than having a government official call you in. We're from the government. We're here to help you. But I've heard real horror stories from folks who have gone in to try and be helpful from the private sector, only to be lambasted by the SEC, and then to be fined for the very information they shared with the SEC trying to get clarity, to the tune of lawsuits and millions of dollars being spent in this. Briefly, can you share your thoughts on, between the SEC and the CFTC, did anybody offer a roadmap here that we should start replicating and get into law here in Congress?
Well, unfortunately, no. We were very much encouraging both agencies to engage with Congress to come up with a coherent regulatory regime. I think the CFTC did a much more admirable job on that.
I would agree with you on that.
But what we're seeing now is full engagement. I think what the SEC is doing now should be applauded. I think their task force is the right way to go about doing it. There's a kind of a cart and a horse problem, because we need a new legislative regime, and then the SEC has to fill in the gaps as well as the CFTC. But they're doing a great job trying to narrow the gap, but really they're putting a ball up on a tee for Congress to kick the field goal, and that's what we need to have happen.
My time has expired. I yield back to the chair only to say that Made in America starts with keeping our innovators right here in the country to begin with. Thank you, Mr. Chair.